Hi guys, Steve here, and on this video I'm going to show you all the best places to build on the island map. I'm going for the more defensive areas where we can build different sized bases. We start here next to the river on the south of the map. The coordinates is 80, 50, and you can see my location on the map I'm holding. Three sides of this area is protected by high cliff walls. You can gain access up from the sides. But here there's only one entrance ramp to block, and that's the only way up, so it's good defensively. I'll just show you around the other side. It's a good area for a small to medium base, once you've cleared the trees and rocks away. There's also this flat piece of land opposite, but the back's wide open so it's harder to defend, and you've got a hill above you so that people can snipe down at you. There's another flat area over here, but I wouldn't advise it. It's only protected at the front with a cliff wall, but the sides and back are open, so it's easily raidable. From this first small location, we move to the next huge one. Fly over the trees to this cove. Then you come to this open area. Okay, imagine this cliff wall as the side of your base. There's another raised area up here you can build on. But it's not just going to be here, it's going to be everywhere within that outer cliff wall. So this cliff wall is the outskirts of our base and we'll follow it round. All the area within is where you can build. There's a ramp here you'll need to block off. And also an entrance here. And that brings us back to where we started. If you're big enough to claim this area, you can also claim a cove below, and use this as a marina to store water dinos. The entrance is too shallow to let the huge ones through, like the mosas or the squids, but I think you should be able to get the sharks and plesio's in. If you're going to use this as a marina, you're going to have to wall and defend a ground area around it, otherwise they can block the entrance to stop you going in and out. And you're also going to have to wall off and defend this rock area. I never thought this was a good place to build your main base, as there are too many rocks for the raiders to hide behind, but as a defensive wall and towers it should be fine. To be honest though, it's going to take a hell of a lot of resources to defend this area, and if you can't even get your best water dinos in there, I'm not sure if it's even really worth it. But it's up to you. You might just want to build on the cliff area. From above you can see the area of your base more clearly, and the cliff wall that will defend you. The next base location runs between two rivers. It has a nice flat area so you can build a good sized base. And its coordinates is 72 by 69. It's surrounded on three sides by the high cliff wall. And the only way up to it is from the back. So you're going to have to wall this off and put most of your defences here. But one straight wall should be fairly easy to defend. One thing to keep in mind is that there's other terrain at the same height, so you'll need to build to stop people sniping you and your dinos from across the river. Across from this area we have another huge base location. Again, we're going to use a cliff wall as the outskirts of our base, and everything within it will be where you can build. Everything in there, and all across here. This is its main weak point, as it's a large unguarded slope. However, it comes out onto a narrow beach, so attackers can't mass here, and if you build defences in the water, they'll have to attack that first. Build your defensive walls and towers in a straight line from where the cliff wall ends, all along to where it begins again. Put a tower here to shoot down on attackers. Then you've got all this safe high area to build on. All around here. You're still defended by the cliff wall. All the way up to this slope area, so you'll need to gate this off all the way up to the next cliff wall. I'd build a fort here to defend the slopes either side. A defensive tower here, and that should protect you from anyone coming up from this side. You have another ramp here you need to block off, and if you build a tower above there it will stop people coming up. There are also little land islands you can build defences on here. And that brings us to the final slope area. It comes up from a river and over to the left. I would again build a large fort on here to protect this side. Then you've got the rest of the area protected by a cliff wall. This is actually another inner wall, and you've got a main outer one across here. And we found ourselves back to the large beach slope. The coordinates of this area is 72 by 76. And as you saw, it's a huge area, so you're going to need quite a few players to look after it. But if you can, you're going to own a massive section of a map. One of the downsides of taking up this area is, if another tribe's built on the island opposite, you might piss them off a bit, because you'll be cutting them off and they'll have to go around you. So it might be a good idea to take this island as well. It's got a really good place for a marina to store your water dinos, and you should be able to fit a few large ones in there. Its coordinates is 83 by 84, the very bottom right of the map. It's got a pit in the core of the island, so try and get as much space out of there as you can, and keep your important stuff there, then build up and over the top. It'd be like having a basement in the centre, then your main base on top of it. You might want to build walls all along a beach to stop any unwanted guests. You have a flat area up there. The entire back of the island is a slope, so that's defensively weak. You'd have to defend it well or people would be able to walk up to your main building. And you'll need to clear those rocks away so you can build defences there. Across from the island and the large area opposite, you have this strip of land. You'd have to build defences here because there's ramps either side. But this is where your main base would start, as each side's protected by a high cliff wall. So you'd have your main base all along there. There's a middle ramp here you'll need to block off. And after that ramp you've got a low outer cliff wall. Then you've got this higher inner wall. And this is where your base would end. And there's another ramp here that you could put an entrance. And this entire side's a cliff face again. And all this flat area is where you can build. Having a base up here, you'll only have to defend two sides, front and back. And its coordinates is 68 by 84, the very bottom right of the island. Just off on the green obelisk you have this opening in the trees. Fly down and you'll find a spiral hill. Its base is at 63.77. It's made up of mini cliff walls in a spiral, but at the top it's got a really nice flat area. Just clear the rocks away and you'll have a fairly good sized base. And its peak's coordinates is 62.2 by 79. I'll fly around it so you can see better the area you've got to work with. Next area is off from Green Obelisk again, by the river where the swamp starts. The plateau is surrounded on three sides by a high cliff wall. And the only way up to it is from the back, which you'll have to wall off and put defences there. The top is nice and flat, and its coordinates is 57 by 65. Across from here we have another huge location. A lot of the ground is on a slope, but most of it's walled off. Okay, imagine we start the outskirts of a base here, and we're going to follow this cliff wall round that protects it. Have less important buildings further down than your most important ones higher up. Ground is on a steep slope, so you're going to have to use pillars to build. There's one ramp here you'll need to block off. But after it you have another high cliff wall. This open area is one of its weak spots. You'll need to build a wall from where his cliff edge starts, up here, to where the other cliff wall ends over there. Then you have the front protected again by another cliff wall. This location's main weakness is this large opening here, so wall this off to completely enclose the area. Then you've got all this ground to build on, so overall there's 3 slopes to block off, one large, one medium and one small. The ground's not ideal as there's not many flat areas, but here I suppose you're going for quantity instead of quality. And this is what you got to play with from above. That's the front cliff wall, then you've got all that round there. And back to the front again. And the coordinates for this location is 52 by 68. Next to the river plateau and the obelisk, you have this location. It's surrounded by high cliff walls. The land is in a slope V-shape, so you're going to have to build around it. It has a ramp here you'll need to block off. But it might be best just to build a wall across here, over to the other side and have your defences there. The slope lower down's too low to give proper protection, so it's best to build your base just on the upper part. You have another ramp here that you'll need to block off. And that brings us round to the front again. The coordinates for this location is 62 by 66. One of the best places to build is here, as it's got no natural ground access, and people can't walk dinos up to you to attack you. Its location is 44 by 66. It's completely surrounded by a high cliff wall. There is a fair bit of metal on top of here, so you might piss off the surrounding tribes if you build here, but if you don't, somebody else will. Like I said, there's no natural way to get your land dinos up here, so what you want to do is claim this patch of land opposite. Then build a bridge up to that plateau. Make sure this area is well defended, and you can just walk the dinos up the ramp to your base. There's also a tiny cliff area on this side as well. Maybe later you can put an elevator there going up. There's also a smaller plateau just off from this one. And that's just across the way here. Again, there's no natural way up to the top, so I would build a ramp going up from this side. I'll just clear these trees so you can see better. There is a survivor note there, so if you build here it will stop people getting it. But don't let that put you off, as the devs have put them in most of the base locations. The top area is smaller, but there is that bit of land below it that you can also build on. And its coordinates is 41 by 67. Up the river from here you come to this point. It's surrounded on three sides by high cliff walls. You've got all that land there. And over here you have a ramp up to it. Right, what I would do is build a defensive wall starting here, all the way up to this small hill, where I'd build a fort to defend most of the back of the base. Then from here, carry on the defensive wall, all the way to here, or over here. It's probably best to start a wall here, as it's a smaller area to defend to the fort. And the wall would go from here across to here, back to this side ramp. And when you've done that, you can claim all this land in here for your own. And its coordinates is 35 by 69. Now, I'm reluctantly putting this location in, as when you first see the big flat area with its cliff wall sides, you might think it's a good place for a base. But I'd only really build here if everything else was taken. Its coordinates is 48 by 48, on the side of this main river. Now yes, it has cliff walls protecting it on its front and sides. But the biggest problem I have with this area is that it's shaped like a triangle, and its biggest unprotected side is at the back. So to protect this location, you're going to have to build a huge defensive wall all along the back. That's going to cost a lot of resources and spread you out so you can't defend it as well. Plus you're going to have to build on the cliffs opposite to stop people sniping you. Over on this one, and on that one. And because you're on the bottom of a hill, people can snipe you from up there as well. The next location is downriver from here, and it's a big one. Most sides of it are surrounded by high cliff walls. It's got a large flat area on top. And the coordinates is 59 by 27. As you can see, the front's fairly safe. There's a rock formation you can build a defence tower here on. And this is one of the two entrances you need to wall off. This is the biggest one. When the cliff wall starts again and runs along here. And this is the other entrance. And you can build defences on this higher part to stop people going through here. Then when you've walled it off, you've got all this area to build on. The next location is a patch of land between a swamp river. It's only big enough to fit a small base, but its biggest downside is if you put turrets here, it'll stop people walking up and down the swamp collecting stuff, and that might piss them off a bit. You have a spiral ramp going up from this side to a small flat area on top. And this location is 67 by 46. The next patch of land is just a short hop away. It's this big flat area here. It's protected on two sides by these high cliffs. So you build your base here on this nice flat area, and then wall the other sides off. Now that is a big area to defend, but people have to come up slopes to get to you. Its coordinates is 73 by 41. I'll just clear some of these trees so you can see the area you've got to play with. There's a slope there. And there's a slope there down to the water. Now, if you'd seen my Nublets water base video, you'd know that I'd built here before. Because the bonus of having your base there is that you can have this sea trench to store your water dinos. You need to wall the entrance off with pillars, then you've got a safe place to keep them all. Check my water base video out if you haven't already, and you'll see what I did. At the top right of the map you have this location. Three sides of it are protected by cliff walls. So again, you're going to have to build your defences and wall off the back area to protect it, as the main attack will come from there. I'll just show you the other side. And you've got a flat area on the top. And this is at coordinates 14 by 69. Across from there, you have one of the best locations. The Oasis. I originally didn't like this place, as if you built down there, people could snipe you from above at a cliff edge. However, if you think of this as a basement, one giant storage area for your base above, then this would be a really good place to build your base. There's beaver dams down there so you can get free cementing paste, if you don't build over it. And its coordinates is 22 by 70. You'd have all your dinos and important stuff down here below the cliff wall. Then build a cover above the oasis, and have all the defences and walls protecting you on the cliffs above. You'll need to block off these passageways to stop people coming in. That one's naturally blocked to big dinos. If you wanted, you could build an outer wall around the entire area, but that might take quite a lot of resources. You can also build your defences all the way through the jungle to the oasis. As you can see, there's plenty of trees to hide traps and ambushes. Those are the other two passages leading out of the oasis. And this is what it looks like from above. The next base location is this island in the top right of the map. It's going to take a big tribe with lots of resources to defend this, as you could be attacked all around by rafts or platform sea dinos. But because you're on an island, you won't be getting people walking up to your front door, so it makes it harder for them to attack. There are flat building areas like this spread out around the island. They're mostly in the centre, but there's another one here. The coordinates is 14 by 84, in the top right. One of the problems about building here is that there's an artifact cave there, and if you block it off and stop people getting them, you might get attacked. However, if you leave it undefended, they could use this area as a beachhead to attack your main base. Going back to the bottom of the map, we have this cliffed off area. 3 sides are protected by these walls. All along here to this point. Then from here, build your defensive wall all along here. Until you come out the other side where the other cliff wall starts. Then you have all this land to build on. And its coordinates is 79 by 32. Right next to this location, you have another. As you can see, its natural terrain makes it very well defended. It's completely surrounded by cliff walls with only a small opening at the back. You can clear all the smaller rocks to make room. It's only those really big ones in the centre that you can't demolish, so you'll need to try and incorporate those into your defences. This rock here can also be demolished, so remove it and then build a defensive wall across the back. The coordinates are 77 by 28. At the bottom left of the map, you have this nice place to build. It's high up on a cliff next to the water's edge. There's a passageway here you'll need to block off. And there's a huge boulder in the centre. I would build a fort on top of this to defend the passageways either side of it. And this is the other entrance. There's a nice flat area at the back, arcing round. Just get rid of some of these trees so you can see it better. And its coordinates is 88 by 25. On the middle left of the island, you come to this patch of land. It's high up on cliffs, as usual. There's a theme going there somewhere. The back's open and you've got a ramp here. I would build my defensive wall just before where the ramp starts. Here, and you can build a small base in there. Its coordinates is 49 by 17. Now we get to the snow area, and we start with this place in front of us. The only way to gain access to this ice bridge is from the back, so block it off with a wall and your defences. Then you've got all along here to build on. And its coordinates is 32 by 14. Now this is a good spot for a small tribe's base, and I'm now going to show you other locations close by. But if you're a huge tribe, you can link these all together in one giant complex. There's a passageway under that ice bridge that leads to this path. And that in turn takes you to this next base location. Like the oasis, imagine this sunken section as one giant basement, a storage area where you can keep all your dinos and your most important stuff. Its coordinates is 26 by 16. You'd have your main base down here, and then you'd build up over the cliffs and have your defences and walls up there. I was going to build a giant pyramid base over the top of this and have this as my Dr. Evil lair, but Scorched Earth came out and I had to put that on hold. No, I've not forgotten. There's a path up to the top there. And over here is a slope up to the side of this base. So you'd have your defensive wall here going back to the mountain behind you and forward to where the ice bridge starts. Have another defensive wall and defences all along this cliff edge. Then start another defensive wall for the other side somewhere around here. The defensive wall should come all along up to the side of this cliff edge. Then you can build another base or fort here, and that will help defend this side. So your base territory will be from here all the way to the ice bridge on the other side. With the main base there, and this path down below, you can build a bridge to this iceberg. Build a fort here to defend it. Then build another bridge over to this iceberg where you can have another huge base. It's even got little tunnels to keep your sea dinos in. The coordinates is 30 by 9. I'll give you a look round the back and from the top. Build a tower up here to stop people attacking you from the sky. This is the best iceberg location, but now I'm going to show you the rest. The next one along is this small one. There's not much room for your dinos and there's no land access. And its location is 17 by 10. I wouldn't really have it as a main base, more of a defensive fort where you could stage raids from. But some people like to build here, so I thought I'd show it you. From there we come to the other big iceberg. Defensively, you need to build an overland at ground level to stop the enemy landing there and getting a stamina back. It's not really practical to build a bridge back to the island. You can if you really need it, but it's going to take a hell of a lot of resources. I'll fly around so you can have a better look at it. If you want to keep a lot of dinos here, it might be best to build housing for them down below. Then you can keep all your flyers up here on top of this ice bridge. The coordinates is 10 by 9. Most of the metal is to the north of the island, but it's not many secure places to build there. However, if you're up for some creative building, you can have a base here, split between 3 different levels. The coordinates is 14 by 52, in the top middle of the island. You have a flat plateau here where you can create a good sized building. You could store your dinos in this area and create one big dino hangar for them. Just make sure you put lots of defences at the side to stop people getting in. It'll be tricky getting dinos up the other side, so you're likely to get attacked from this slope. And on the top, build a fort with defences that can take down flyers. People can still come down the mountain at you, so keep that in mind if you build here, and build as much defence as you can to stop them. As well as these two levels, you have a third down here. It would be a pain to get your dinos up and down the mountain all the time, so you could build another dino pen down here, and keep in it all the dinos you use all the time. There are two access slopes each side, one here, and one over here, so you can easily get down to ground level, but that also means attackers can get up to you. So if you're worried about your best stuff getting killed or stolen, don't keep it on this level. And that's my 3-tier wedding cake base. The next base location is here, at the side of a mountain. Half the area is protected by high cliff walls, so if you wall the back off, you've got enough space for a small base here. And its location is 24 by 61. There's a slope there you need to block off and defend. Build your wall and defences at the back. All the way up to where this cliff wall starts again. The final base location is somewhere around 28 by 47. It's up to you, and it's the middle of nowhere, but that's the point. Like I said, most of the metal on this map's on the top half, and around about here, or a bit further to the right, is the middle of where all the mountains are. So by having a base in the middle of them all, you can farm the most metal. Here is one of the emptiest and flattest areas, so you can build whatever base you want. But because there's no terrain to protect you, you can be attacked from all sides. So you'll need to be a large tribe and build a huge amount of defences. Well, that's all the places I'd build my base at. I left out all the caves because building there is a bit of a dick move, as it stops people getting the artifacts, and you get the damage multiplier so everything's easily destroyed. Thanks for watching, and if this was helpful, please like and subscribe. Click the bell icon to get notified for when I upload next, and don't forget to check out the other helpful videos on the playlist at the end. Goodbye!